car's underway. Stamps his authority once again.
My word, this could go wrong.
On the brakes, goodness me, what a launch!
Look at that.
It just all comes down to this. Welcome along, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. It's good to see. It's good to be back. We're back for season number 10 of the Almost Pro Championship, and we're here. We of course had our pre-season show last time out, but we're here today for race number 1. The action will finally get underway, and we will be here for 29 laps of Bahrain. Of course, my name is Joseph Black. I'll be taking you through the action. Alongside me will be, of course, the team's owner and last season's, we'll say driver. We won't say much more than that. It'll be Carl Stuart Woodard, who'll be joining alongside me for this evening. We're going to test out the main stinger for, I believe, the first time this stream. And, well, there we go. There is our driver list. There is the list of all the drivers that we've got signed up for this season. And of these drivers, we have 12 racing tonight. Neither of the reserves have showed for the first round of the season, which is absolutely fine. I mean, they're reserves. They are under no obligation to, although it would be absolutely wonderful. And then we are also missing Paul Garang, one of the drivers from, of course, the McLaren team, who's alongside Ollie Matthews for the second season running. And then we're missing the Haas driver of Matthew Agatches as well, who is at the Chelsea game. There's no real excuse for that one. Less of an excuse for Brian Moore. He is watching the United game. He's not there. He is watching on TV, so no excuse for him there. But that is the 5 drivers that are not racing this evening. That is the 3 full-time drivers we are missing. And, well, I mean, everybody else hopefully should be in. We've now got our 13th driver in the session, so I believe that's everybody. I believe we're going to be ready to go as soon as the last driver is going to pick their cars, and then we'll get ourselves racing for a 20-minute qualifying session and then 29-lap race.
Drivers, yeah, there was obviously a late addition there with sorry, I was distracted. Why can't I get my screen back up? There we go. A late addition there. Oh, the person they're not showing. Radiohead, their name is. Their real name is Alexandru V. And they joined very, very last minute. So they are here and ready to go. They will be in the Haas. And I'm excited to see them go. So, okay, I am with you now. Apologies for sounding a bit distracted. I was trying to help get them sorted. I do believe, and we're yet to be seen, it looks like Arias Stone is going to be in the incorrect car, which is obviously annoying. But that's where we are, fortunately. But yeah, we're getting going very shortly. I'm very excited to finally be on track, and I can focus now solely on commentating.
Certainly can. And, there's been a couple of things going on with the stream. One of the things was that we didn't hear you being distracted because we didn't hear you at all. But we've been able to fix that one now. A couple of the graphics, just because obviously we've moved to the animated graphics, it's difficult to see it on, or it's impossible to see it on the preview, so it's difficult to tell when it's actually going to be the right size, when it's actually going to show and disappear. So that is why midway through that driver list we had a black screen, but we are going to be back, and even better, we'll be able to take you straight to trackside for the first race day action of the season. And we've got a couple of new features to the stream, of course, as I say, the animated backgrounds and other things to go along with that. But I mean, just before we get into that, we will talk about the races that we've got coming up this season, and, well, of course, the race that we'll be starting on this evening. And it's going to be Bahrain to kick us off for season number 10. Saudi Arabia, second round. Austria, third. And then the UK. Belgium, sprint race. Hungary, and then the Netherlands. Italy, Azerbaijan, America. The Texas race, of course, the sprint. And then Sao Paulo. Then another American race at the US of A in Las Vegas. And then Qatar and Abu Dhabi to round us out for a season's worth of action. But without further ado, then, we'll get into the racing action. We're going to start with the onboards of the drivers, or more specifically, the offboard.
Great to see Stadbody 989, of course, our commentator for the past two, co-commentator apologies, for the past two seasons. Owen Boldero has come back in, has retired from league racing. What did I say retired? Took a break from league racing, and then came back in and has absolutely smashed it. But then look who's just popped in. That is Luca Seracini, who crashed out a lot last season. He had actually told me in the DMs over the off season that his pace has been massively improving. And I mean, to do your banker lap faster than the famous ABC famous Andrea Chenkovan, it's not a bad start to the session at all, or the season.
Yeah, and sorry, Carl. There's another audio issue. We were missing our voices. We're now missing game audio. So I apologise for the start of this season. I know it's not necessarily ideal, and I am trying to get that sorted before we get the race underway. But that's a shame because I thought I was flowing at the start of that. But as it turns out, I was, and it wasn't being picked up because I changed the audio input, but I didn't press to change the thing, so it didn't go through. But at least you got visuals for the first start of this race. But I haven't streamed in a while. I'm rusty. So that is exactly why we've been having things like that. Now, Randro, who's heading through the final corner, of course, racing in the Aston Martin. I know him quite well, whether he knows it or not. I know him quite well because he raced as he sets the fastest lap by 0.3 or 2 and some change of a second. I know him rather well because he raced in a league that I ran a couple of years ago. It might have even been less than a year ago, but it was cut short quite quickly, and he got quite annoyed at me because there was literally only himself and one other person who were actively racing in the league by the point that we called it quits. But yeah, he ended up winning that title. Not that he may well remember that, but yeah, it's a small world, league racing. It's a small world, and I hope that he remembers it. It'll be very interesting if he does, but if he doesn't, I don't blame him either. We've got to the end of our first runs. It will be Randro on top with a 27.895, and it'll be Luca Seracini with the surprise second place. I mean, he always seemed to have the pace last year, just didn't have the consistency to pull it through, so it's good to see him right at the very top here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he always tried his best, and it was always quite hard to watch when those crashes happened because you knew what he was about, and we had seen great flashes of pace. And it was always annoying when you saw those days where he'd go into the wall. Obviously, he tried no assist, which was one thing that we must caveat with. He did try no assist. He wanted to try something different, and he was obviously working hard to kind of master that. So once he was able to do that, and we started seeing the pace again, and looking at the pace he's currently put in now, it's clearly paid off. I have not actually asked him if he's running assists. I believe he did do a pre-race interview, so I'm sure that's something we can have a look at. So I'm not sure if the assists have come back on or he's just absolutely mastered running no assists now. But that's great. That's great early pace. Even on his best day, he wasn't challenging Chenky, and now he is. And he's only 3 temps off the fastest time of Randro, who just want to remind everyone I did predict to win the championship. So. Looking good so far, but yeah, we've seen what Lucas Seracini's pace is all about, and I'm really hoping this is the season where he fights the top guys throughout the entire season.
It'll be good, wouldn't it? He's certainly got the pace to do so, and it's just about whether he can execute it. We're watching on with Aria Stone, who heads through the final corner, and he's going to set his first lap of the session with just under 10 minutes remaining. The McLaren, of course, is not racing for McLaren across the course of the season. He just didn't get in the right car, and he goes into 10th place, which is the second to last, just ahead of that will be one of the Haas drivers. But yeah, looking at some of the new drivers, some of the new faces, it'll be very interesting to see. Of course, if you look at the Williams, it's Regan, who is Regan Harding. That makes it nice and easy. And Muxasinho, who will be Harrison Robinson, as Connor Stewart would, a familiar face up to the line, and is going to be in a familiar place, second to last, for himself in this qualifying session. The second runs are getting underway now. That will be Connor's first lap time on the board with a 29.920. Andrei Chenkovan at the end of the first sector, allegedly purple, but of course we know what this game can be like at the best of times and at the worst of times as well. Chenkovan then will come down through turns 9 and turns 10, and he will pick up a sumptuous bit of slipstream from his teammate, who will be parked pretty much on the exit of the corner. He's going to have DRS as well, and he'll be trailing him towards the end of the straight, so that's going to give the number 95 a huge advantage in these second runs. But Bahrain is a circuit that has a lot of track degradation, or track evolution should I say, so he's going to be... This might not even be the best run of the session, despite the fact he's picked up that lovely bit of slipstream, and he is 3/10 up on his previous time.
Yeah, fantastic pace so far. Of course, we've seen the Ferraris work together on previous occasions. We know they like to help each other out. More so, Ethan Shackleton on Andrea Chenkovan. I think as the seasons have progressed previously, Ethan's gone further and further away from the championship lead, as Andrea Chenkovan has put in a 1:27.7. So that is almost 2 tenths up now on Randro's fastest time. So Randro, now been on an outlap, is obviously going to go for 3 runs, I would assume. So yeah, time to tumble in. Looking forward to seeing where this can go. Of course, as you say, track evolution is very much a thing at Bahrain. It's a thing in most tracks, but Bahrain especially, it happens a lot. In real life, I think it comes down to the sand being in the desert. I don't know if that is the same in the game, if that's what they're simulating, or if it's just random. But yeah, as you say, that was a great time. And while I've been talking, actually, Dan Riley, of course, has been bigging himself up to lead the championship after this race. Has now put a 1:27.853 as well, but Stadbody 989's with a great time, is approaching the line, and it's a 1:27.828 as well. So currently, the top 4 are all very close, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this qualifying session is going to what's the word I'm looking for? Is going to pan out as we approach the end of the session in about 7 minutes' time.
It should be very good, as you say, 7 minutes time, pretty much dead on, is going to be the end of this qualifying session. Lucas Erracini heading down to the next braking zone, turn 9 and 10, and out of the exit. Of course, a good first lap from the V-Carb driver, and he's going to hope to back it up in this one, DRS, as he heads down towards turn number 11 and into the braking zone, trying to go as wide as possible to sweep it in from the curbing. And it's not too bad of a line, not too bad of a lap so far from Seracini. Yellow flags out on a small portion of the circuit because cars going in on their in-lap. Seracini then, he was 700ths down at the end of the first sector. He's now just over 500ths up. And that's not a bad time for himself, but he still needs to find a decent chunk of time. There's a big gap between the top 4 and himself now. It's about a tenth and some change. And it's about 2 tenths and some change as Lucas Erracini to the line, 28.091. And he cuts into that lead for the top 4 just slightly. As there's a bit more of an improvement from Leandro Ratto in that first sector. The Aston Martin is up by 900ths.
Yeah, great improvement from Lucas Seracini. Probably be a little bit disappointed that he's not a bit closer after those second runs, but there's plenty of time to get in another run. So that could be on a used tyre set for all we know. Obviously, we're not looking at the tyres at the moment. So this is something that I used to do quite a lot. I'm not sure if it was ever picked up in commentary last season, but my middle run would normally be a used set I'd used on the first run, just so I can see if I can learn the track a bit better, get some improvement, without wasting a set of tyres. And that is a purple sector 2 according to the game for Leandro. That is a 3/10 improvement, which is good right now for potential for provisional pole position. I'm still new to this whole commentating game, but we're getting there. And as he comes down the pit straight, will he take pole position? Well, I think he probably will, and he does with a 4/10 improvement. So that's 1:27.4. That is put a 3 and a bit tenth gap to our current championship, no, I'm about to say leader, not leader, championship, help me out here, Joseph. what's the
Contender?
No, he previously had the championship. The person who's defending the championship. The word's gone blank. So yeah, Andrea Chenkovan, obviously the 4-time championship winner here in ABC, as a 3 and a bit tenth gap to find. That's a 2 and a bit tenth gap. My maths is well off to take that pole position. But it's going to calm down now. Everyone's going to come into the pit lane. Regan's the last one to come into the pit lane. No, Leandro will be. And yeah, it's all going to calm down. And those last runs, they're going to be quite exciting, aren't they?
They certainly are. The last runs are going to be very, very good to see, I think. And It's going to be very close, although Randro does seem to have the measure of the rest of the field at this point in time. And, well, the Aston Martin is currently on pole position by 2 and a bit tenths. Chenkovan in second place and Owen in third. It's not a bad time from himself, as we will see our first car out on the circuit for the final runs, and it's going to be Harrison Robinson to take us away for the final lap times here in this 20-minute qualifying session. And we have just under even 4 minutes to go, so just under enough time for 2 good laps to be set. So maybe they could do 1 lap that's just warming up, as that's a huge cut from Harrison, as he looks like he might be trying to do the same thing, trying to go for 1 warm-up lap, so his out lap, then his warm-up lap, then his actual lap itself, because you don't really actually need to fit in the in lap on this session. But yeah, it's a little bit different when, you know, you've got about 4 minutes left, and it starts to get a little bit tetchy for time. Aria Stone has joined him out on this circuit, and we'll see what these two are able to do at the moment. Not quite as impressive as they would have liked. Aria Stone a second off of Harrison, in fact, and another second and some change off of that pole position. That is currently held by, of course, Leandro Ratto. Third driver out is going to be Regan, and he's going to see what he can do in this session. But Harrison will come around the final couple of corners. These are allegedly 2 corners, by the way. This first one, the turn-in, and then the exit, just a little flick, is going to be the final corner on this circuit, the 15th one. And he's going to come back into the pits, so not very happy with it. Maybe he's gone out accidentally on a set of used tyres, and that's why he's dived back into the pit lane. But we have Regan, we have Aria, and now we've got Dan Riley and Lucas Aracini joining them on the circuit.
Yeah, very odd that. Very odd. It's something I've done before. I forget to take the fresh tyres, and you go out and you're like, damn. So luckily, probably just about enough time. You can cut the corners on your outlap here if it's necessary to do. It is within the rules of ABC. If it's necessary to make it to the start of your lap, you can do it as long as it's done safely. So potentially what they might do there, but it is quite odd that they've gone back in. I can tell you, it's quite hard to see in this game, but it can be seen if you look very closely on the steering wheel, the amount of laps of fuel that a car has, and they were out with 5 laps of fuel. So as you say, potentially going for back-to-back runs. But yeah, not doing that now, obviously, as they've come into the pit lane. But currently, Aria Stone is on the lap, tracking quite well, as Regan also starts the lap. One thing I think we need to watch out for, I think I mentioned this in the pre-season show, watch out for Regan in the race. Has got a bit of a reputation of getting too many track limit penalties, so I know he's tried hard during the off-season to try and tidy that up, so hopefully that's something that he'll be able to do, because he does have some great pace. But please say that I said Harry, didn't I? It's Harrison we're talking about. Harrison has gone back out on the track. He's now on an out lap, and we'll finally get to see what lap they can do. And actually, everyone is now out on the track, so fantastic to see that we're about to see every single car on the track. And the first lap to come in will be Aria Stone, who is now going towards the start-finish line. What time will it be? It's not an it's an improvement. It's an improvement, but unfortunately, still stays in P10, so not enough of an improvement to go up the field, but a great showing nonetheless.
Yeah, not quite enough of an improvement, and that's going to be the end of their qualifying session as Henri Chenkovan gets his underway. And I think it'll be very close actually to see whether Harrison actually makes it to the line, as that's the end of Aria Stone retiring on the track. And looking at who's going to be finishing on their laps in just a couple of moments' time, it's not going to be either of the Aston Martins. They're going to make it to the line. It's not going to be the McLaren or the Ferrari around the final corner. They're about to come to the start of their laps as well. Regan's invalidated. He's going to go one more time. And I wish there wasn't the persistent yellow flags out, because if there wasn't the persistent yellow flags out even, I'd be able to see how much time was left in the session and how close we are to the checkered flag. We've got 6 seconds, so it's only just cutting the line for Harrison, and he's literally crossed the line with 2 seconds to go. Regan gave him a little bit of slipstream and a little bit of a scare as well as he came around the final corner, and he moved out the way. Dan Riley will come up to the line, and he's going to be the first one to take the checkered flag, apart from Regan, Aria and Burt Welly, and he comes to the line to go onto the front row of this grid. He's going to get a 1:27.636. Lucas Aracini is improving, but he's not improved by enough. He did close the gap to Owen in the end, but it's not going to be anywhere near the front row. The final, the only even Haas driver comes up to the line with a 30.298, and Connor Stewart would have moves up to the top 10 just about, and he's going to stay in the top 10 because that is the the slowest of the drivers that have not retired so far. Andrei Chenkovan, the next to the line. This may well be a pole time if he can hook up that final sector right, but he's got it slightly wrong, and by slightly I mean less than 300ths of a second, and he's going to be down on Randro, so he's not going to have the pole position. Leandro Ratto is the man holding that right now. Up to the line will come Ollie Matthews. He'll be the next one, and he's got a big improvement, but he needs a big improvement. 0.5 of a second to even touch Owen and Luca as he comes around the final corner, putting the power down. DRS will open right about now, and he's only got a little spurt of it, and it's just about outside of the top few. Randro is invalidated. That's going to be not an improvement on his lap time. Owen hasn't improved either. He's improved in terms of time, but not in terms of positions. And the man that cut the line, Harrison, will be the one to take us to the checkered flag. What is it going to be for himself? It's going to be a 1:28.211, which is going to be good enough for 7th place for himself on debut. So for Harrison Robinson, it's not too bad of a time, and that's going to be the end of our qualifying session. And Leandro Ratto will take that pole position. Andrei Chenkovan just 0.027 off, so it's going to be a very, very good fight between the Uruguayan and the Croat. Daniel Riley takes P3 just ahead of Owen Boldero, and it'll be Lucas Aracini in 5th place alongside Ollie Matthews. And just to round out the field, it'll be Harrison Robertson, Ethan Shackleton, Regan. It'll be Regan Harding, and Connor Shitwood are just inside the top 10. Just outside will be Aria Stone. And then our final two drivers, of course, Bert Welly not able to get a lap time on the board, unfortunately, for himself. But that'll be the end of qualifying. Well, it's not a bad qualifying session, all things considered. The top two split by just 0.027.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. And the top 7, just less than 8 tenths between them. So, yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a good one here. One thing I think we should definitely think about, sometimes when a race session starts on a new season with a whole bunch of new drivers, someone accidentally readies up. So it's possible that this may go to the formation out quicker than we expect. However, one thing I will say, I have noticed in the Discord channel, I did try and mute it, but I didn't get around to doing it. I've checked the drivers channel, and it looks like Regan tried to give Harrison a slipstream. They tried to work together, which looked like it was working well, but it looks like Regan retired from the session slightly too early. Which meant that his AI actually got a little bit in Harrison's way. So quite unfortunate that you're trying to help your teammate and end up causing him more problems. Obviously, Harrison did improve in the end, so clearly didn't affect him too much. But that's not going to be an ideal start to the lap for sure. Looks like a few other people aren't too happy with their runs. And Ollie Matthews saying that the top 4 are just far too fast. But as we know, anything can happen with the race. As we know from the pre-season show, the safety car setting has now been put back to standard. So is more possibility of a safety car and maybe a fun graphic if that ever happens. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, not an ideal start for some people.
We are finally back in. I mean, it didn't take us too long, to be fair, but it's one of those frustrating waits that feels like a hell of a lot more long than it actually is. We had a few drivers disqualified from the session, and then also Regan did ready up a little bit too early, so that'll be a penalty point to his name before we've even got going with the racing action. But speaking of the racing action, we are zooming in. They are all watching the 5 lights, and we are as well. They're all coming on. Season number 10 is ready to get underway. The drivers are ready as well. And the action's underway. Good stuff from Andrei Chenkovan, who's going to pull alongside Ratto into the first corner. More drivers in the background trying to find space. Ollie Matthews had a good start. Ethan Shackleton has not. Chenkovan moves to the outside line of the first corner. Owen is going to move to the inside and try to get through on Dan Riley. They remain side by side, but in the end, Owen is able to pull through and actually gets a magnificent exit. Is ready to challenge Andrei Chenkovan down towards turn number 3, but no doing just yet. Lucas Aracini starting to try and challenge Dan Riley into turn number 5 and turn number 6 now, but not getting close enough. But it will be a very good start from Leandro Ratto, who's able to lead from that pole position. And in the first sector is able to get away. Ethan Shackleton, who had a poor launch off of the line, is able to get back through on one of the Williams drivers and sits in the middle of a sandwich at the moment, but he might be attacked back. Harrison on the inside later on the brakes, and it looks like he's just going to outbrake himself, and indeed he does. Through back goes Ethan Shackleton, and it's going to be Leandro Ratto to lead on this first lap.
Yeah, what a fantastic start. It's exactly what Leandro would want. And Chenky, of course, as well. You know, if they can both work together and run away, they can then just run their own race. But as we can see on the screen, Stad Body, Owen Boldero, Dan Riley and Lucas Aracena are all sticking with the top two. So as it currently stands, nobody's running away. There's some McLaren goes wide there, so some track limit warnings coming in there, it would seem. But yeah, not a fantastic start for Harrison then. So had that issue with his teammate blocking him in qualifying and has gone backwards. The biggest loser from the start there, down 2 positions. So not ideal. Ethan Shackleton and his teammate getting ahead. So yeah, let's say not ideal as Bert has rejoined the session, so that's great for him. And Chenky has now taken the lead on lap 2. So are we going to see these two drivers swapping throughout the race, or is it going to settle down? Is somebody going to run away with it? As Connor Stewart-Woodard, someone I know very well, has got a 3-second penalty already. So not a fantastic start for Connor either, as Harrison is now going to try and go back round the outside of Ethan Shackleton. Is he going to pull it off? It doesn't look like it. However, this battling has meant that Ethan Shackleton is now outside the DRS range of Regan in front, so that is not going to be great. It looks like the second train in this race will start at P8 with Ethan Shackleton.
Yeah, although Regan was outside of the DRS, they headed towards turn number 1. I know it wasn't activated yet, but it wasn't a good sign for Regan Harding, nor was it a good sign for Ethan Shackleton that he was already out of DRS. Dan Riley just dropping out of the top 3 as well, as their race pace seems to be a little bit better, and he's got Lucas Heracini ready to pressure right in behind him. Owen is going to be in 3rd place at the moment, 7/10 off the back of his teammate, but they are looking like a very, very quick pairing to start off this season. It's a very, very strong start. Ethan Shackleton a little bit lagging behind. He would usually find himself on the podium a couple of years ago, and even last season, but it looks as though he may well have been usurped in the early part of this session, at least, if not the season itself. If we have a look at the tyres then on the cars, what have we got on offer? Well, it'll be as Shackleton gets re-overtaken. Shackleton, in fact, is on a set of soft compound tyres as Dan Riley and Lucas Heracini side by side into the first corner. Luca did send it, but it looks like Dan Riley's got a much better exit, and he's able to pull his way back through the inside line, then beckons for Lucas Heracini into turn number 4, and he does make his way through and up into the next position. Ollie Matthews waiting in the background, but cannot quite find his way through just yet. It's soft compound tyres for Ethan Shackleton and for our Haas driver in 12th place. It is going to be very interesting to see how they do, because the softs are going to go off quite quickly. However, it is, I believe, going to be a 2-stop strategy for those drivers. It may well be a 2-stop strategy for those on the mediums as well, as it doesn't feel as though the hards really get up to speed ever. There's a bit of contact there. Dan Riley out braking himself just a little bit, or braking a little bit later than Lucas Heracini at the very least, and then going into the back of the V car, but no harm done, no damage done, and they remain in formation. But now the gap 1.6 seconds, so it's already opening up on lap 3.
Yeah, Regan, as you say, did fall back out that DRS range again. So I'm not sure what happened at the end of the previous lap, because he was just in that DRS range and has now fallen to almost 3 seconds behind Ollie Matthews, who Ollie Matthews himself is hassling in the back of Daniel Riley. So a great qualifying session and a great start for Daniel Riley, but it looks like he is starting to fall backwards a little bit now. But I mean, to be in P5 and potentially P6 at the end of this straight isn't a bad place to be at this stage in the race. Lucas Heracini, of course, been another person who has fallen off, as Leandro is now also going to take the lead back from Chenky. So these two will be swapping positions, it looks like, throughout this race. Is Ollie Matthews going to put it off down the inside of Daniel Riley? Looks like he might, but Daniel Riley is going to come back and now has actually taken that position back, having the inside for the final corner. But Ollie's going to have another go at this. Is he going to pull this one off going into, I believe it's turn 4? They're side by side, so this is some fantastic racing between the two of them. Dan Riley sticking it in there, holding it around the outside. Did try everything he could there, but wasn't quite enough. And Ollie Matthews now has to push a little bit, use a little bit extra battery to get back in Lucas Seracini's DRS range. But one thing to note here is Owen Boldero. We've not really seen him much in the news. He's kind of running his own race in 3rd position, so fantastic. He did actually tell me earlier, he did say, just to pre-warn you, I might not be able to jump in an interview. I have been unwell for the past 24 hours. I'm going to try and race. As there's a McLaren in the background, there's Arias Stone, who has almost gone into the wall. So he's just recovered ahead behind Connor Stewart-Woodard. But I just noticed the background there. Lost the back end coming out of that corner and almost went into the wall. But yeah, Owen Baldero not feeling very well, but that's clearly not showing on track, as Bert has now also gone ahead of Alex.
He certainly has, and he's up into 12th place now, trying to recover his race from the disappointing and unfortunate start that he had to. The closest gaps in this field are going to be between the top 3 drivers, 6 tenths between Randberg and Andrea Chenkvan. And it was 6/10 as well between himself and Owen as they started the straight. But his straight line speed, Leandro Ratos, seems to be so much better, and he's doing an incredible job at the moment just to try and keep himself in there, just to try and keep himself fighting with Andrea Chenkvan. If you can keep yourself up in Sector 2, then Sector 1 and Sector 3 you can really take advantage. There's more straight down this circuit than you would imagine, even though there is 16 corners, but those 16 corners just seem to be basically comprised of high-speed corners just like this, so it's all about the straights. It's all about how low can you go in terms of the wings around this circuit. But yeah, as you mentioned, Owen has said a lot before this race, and one of the things that he said, he's not raced on F125 in 7 months even. He's not raced any league races in 2 years, so it's good to be back to it. But he's not looking to have any expectations in this race, but if he did have, he would be in the top 5, and that's where he's running at the moment. He's actually running a little bit better than that in 3rd place, so he's doing a very good job. Ollie Matthews hasn't been able to make his way back into the second window of Lucas Erracini. Instead, Lucas is 1.5 seconds off of the top pack, so he's closing just a little bit, despite the fact that he's not got any DRS or anything like that. So it's very promising signs for Seracini. Almost worth, though, him letting Ollie Matthews back into the DRS so they can start swapping just like the top group are. And yeah, we'll see whether he does do that. I think Ollie has been able to make his way in. I think he's been pushing quite a significant amount. As there's flashing on the back of Leandro Ratos' Aston Martin. He's 6/10 off the back of Andrea Chenkova now. He may well have expended everything he could on the last lap just to try and get ahead. The flashing demonstrates when it's empty, when his ERS tank is empty, or when it's full. A small look up for him into the first corner, but he gets through as the two Williams teammates have swapped positions as well.
Yeah, just to correct you slightly there. Well, no, you were correct, but just to also add on, the flashing light will also show if they have manually turned their battery harvesting to full. So if they're in full harvesting mode and they're not using their battery, which they can do from the cockpit as a Constrip Woodard looking very close to Apex Shepherd to Aria Stone. Try to go down the inside, not quite enough. So yeah, so what you'll find a lot of drivers will do, they'll use a lot of batteries sort of where they need it and then turn it off when they don't need it, especially if they're in the DRS. They can turn it off and use the additional speed from the DRS to offset that speed loss by having it off, and then they can recharge it, and that means they can attack the following lap or maybe a couple of laps later. I believe that's potentially what Owen Boldero is doing. One thing I have noticed is that Owen Boldero is faster in the second sector, so there may be quite a wing differential there. It may well be the fact that Owen's running higher wings, which means in the tighter corners, tighter parts of the track, he can go faster, whereas Leandro may have much lower wings, which means in the twisty parts he loses the back end. I have seen quite a bit of back end loss quite a few times, but then going down the straights he will be basically a rocket ship. So that may well be what's happening. But yeah, it's all kind of died down a little bit. The top two are now swapping again, so this is probably going to go at least until the pit stop phase at a minimum. But yeah, it's very clean driving right now, and Owen is just sat there watching this happen, hoping that maybe a little side-by-side action gets a little bit too aggressive. They both go off the track, and then Owen can win his return to racing after 2 years. We will wait and see what happens in 22 laps time.
Of course, it's going to be a big debate for Owen, as well as the fact that he's got his teammate right up there, so he doesn't want to double stack at all. And with 2 pit stops predicted, it's going to be very difficult to manage that with his teammates. He's going to have to at least have had some communication before the race. If not, then they are completely spitballing. They're completely just going to make it up as they go along and hope that it works. Lucas Seracini has fallen off a little bit, so I think he did push a little bit too much. He's got Ollie Matthews for company right behind him, but these three still staying with each other, with Andrew Chenkova still showing his champions class and staying right up the very top of the field at this point in time, and looking like he might be even increasing that to Randros up to about 9/10 before that straight, and then after the straight has gone a little bit back down. Of course, Andrea does come into this season as the season 10 reigning champion. I'm not sure why I switched to 13th place there, but he does come into the season as the season 10 reigning champion, or the season 9 reigning champion even. He has secured his 3rd successive APC championship, hopes to pick up a 4th here today, and of course it is going to be another one for Ferrari that they're looking for, as Regan is going to pick up a 3-second time penalty. He joins the club that currently includes Aria Stone and Bert Welly or not Burtwelly, even Connor, Stuart Woodard as Connor is actually going to drop down, and Ethan Shackleton is going to come into the pit lane. Where is he going to make the switch onto? It's going to be another set of the mediums. This looks like the strategy to go for here today. It's going to be mediums, then it's going to be back to the, it's going to be 2 sets of mediums, and it's also going to be a set of the soft compound of tyres as well to finish off the race, it appears to be, for himself at the very least. But yeah, we had a little bit of a swap as well. Burtwelly making his way past his next couple of drivers. It'll be Aria Stone and Connor Stewart Woodard to drop down, and Burtwelly to make his way into the top 10 and just that little bit further as well.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I believe Ethan Shackleton did start on the soft tyre, so those tyres were probably absolutely dead. So whether it is the correct strategy is yet to be seen. What he will be hoping to do now on those fresh mediums is push, get on the back of the current medium runners and hope a safety car comes out, which means he'll then be on the same strategy as everyone else, because everyone will pit. Nobody started on hard, so nobody's going to hold it out. But I mean, it's possible. I mean, highly unlikely, but it's possible if you're very good on your tyres that you could potentially do a one stop from there. But I don't see it. I don't even think Dan Riley's even going to attempt that. I know he's attempted a few last season. He was one of, I think, myself and Dan, I think maybe one other, who did attempt the one stop quite often. But I think, yeah, it doesn't matter how nice you are on your tyres here, it's probably not worth the risk. And there's one thing that Owen Boldero would always like to remind me: if you're on the wheel, you will be be able to hold on to your tyres much better than somebody on pad. It looks like Owen Boldero, we were just speaking about, has fallen off the back now of the top 2 and is in the clutches of Luca Seracini. So there may well have been a little incident that we may have missed there that caused Owen to fall backwards, because yeah, he's lost a significant amount of time on that lap. So very odd to see, but yeah, Luca will be very happy about that. He's now fighting for the podium and has brought Ollie Matthews with him.
He certainly has. He's managed to make his way right into the slipstream of Owen Boldero at the moment. Owen dropping back to about 2 seconds off, and I think it might just be a pace thing, because it does appear as though he is not he's not gaining at all on the drivers ahead, despite the big wing differential. Is that in fact a missing end plate on his car? No, it's not. It is just there. It just hadn't rendered in by the time he made it to about the middle of the straight. So he's got Luca Seracini and Ollie Matthews, who will have just perked up right in behind him, and Luca especially will be wanting to make a move, because he spent this whole race pretty much not looking at anybody in front, but looking at the proximity markers of the cars right in behind. And look, well, Andreychenko has been able to make his way 1.4 ahead of Leandro Ratto at this point in time. And don't forget, Leandro Ratto is in his debut APC race, as well as Aria Stone, Harrison Robinson and Regan Harding. And of course we have the Haas driver to add to this list as well. So we have 5 debutants racing this season. It's very, very good to see. And racing this race at the very least, as Luca has made his way through on Owen, and he's made his way up into 3rd place. Into the pits comes Harrison. He's making the switch onto, I presume, another set of mediums, if not a set of the soft compound tyres. If he's going for the hards, then it's going to be a big stretch, as that is a 10-second time penalty for Connor Stewart Woodard. Not ideal. Mediums for the Williams driver.
Yeah, of course, I try not to be biased, of course, you know, we're here for everyone, but seeing Connor Stewart Woodard, my former teammate, of course, get that 10-second penalty is not ideal. I think he was running quite well, looking good for at least a couple of points in the first race of the season. But yeah, unfortunate there. Harrison being the first to come off the medium tyres, Connor being the second. Connor on the soft tyres. Harrison has... I've lost Harrison on my screen. Harrison has gone for the medium tyre. So different strategies there then. Very different strategies. Very interesting actually to see Connor on the softs. It's not a strategy call I would have made. I think I would have saved the softs to the end, or even tried the hards, although they're not fantastic here, but I may have given them a go depending on how I felt. So I'm not sure what that strategy was all about. It's quite funny actually. When I decided that I wasn't racing this season, there was the idea that I might actually be his engineer for the season. It wasn't until Owen Boldero said that he wanted to race that I decided to jump in his position in the commentary box with yourself. But yeah, if I was Connor's engineer for the season, I would have been telling him absolutely not to do that. So that's unfortunate. It looks like Owen Boldero is going to come back past Luca Seracini, and Ollie Matthews is probably going to follow him through as well. But yeah, I've been looking to see when more drivers come off the medium tyres. Actually, we're going to watch this side-by-side action first. Not quite made it through then, Ollie Matthews, as he cuts the corner as well, so that will 100% be a warning. But Owen Boldero has made it through. Will Luca Seracini try and come back here? No, that is the answer to that question. So, lovely pink livery, by the way, on that car. But As I was saying, yeah, it'd be interesting to see when everyone else comes off those medium tyres. Everyone else seems a lot more comfortable. Chenky is now 2.5 seconds ahead of Leandro, so it looked like Leandro may have had it sewn up quite early on, but now looks like Chenky is just reminding us what he does best. I mean, was it a case of Chenky maybe going, let's tease him for a bit and I'll run away in the mid part of the race? Who knows? I guess we'll probably never find out, but yeah, it's fantastic to see the pace at the top. Owen Baldera is keeping within the decent range of Leandro, but not quite able to close that gap. But with the help of Lucas Seracini, they might both be able to do that, and of course bring Ollie with them. Dan Riley is increasing the gap to Ollie Matthews, so that won't be ideal for him, but is also increasing the gap to Regan behind. So he might not be hassling the cars in front, but he's also not being hassled by the cars behind. So not a terrible position to be in.
No, absolutely not the worst in the world to be in, but of course not an ideal one at the moment. Lap 11 of 29. We're going to head on to lap number 12 in just a couple of moments' time as both of our leaders come into the pit lane, Chenkovan and Leandro Ratto. So that is two drivers into the pits, and we are going to be seeing two new drivers take to the helm. This appears to be the main pit lap for a number of them. Andrew Chenkovan, Lucas Eracini, Leandro Ratto and Dan Riley all into the pit lane. And Owen Baldera and Ollie Matthews appear to be staying out on the circuit, as does Regan Harding, but everybody else appears to be diving right into the lane and making their switch. Lucas Eracini is looking very good at the moment. Somebody who isn't, though, is going to be Ethan Shackleton. He's going to go a little bit longer on this stint, but he's really not been up to the heights of what he usually is. So maybe just a weak track for him, or maybe just a bit of rust that he needs to be shaking off this race, and he'll be hoping to get a little bit better across the course of the season. This is not an ideal start for himself, though, and we will of course see what he's going to be capable of throughout the course of the rest of the season. Going back to Lucas Eracini, well, we spoke to him pre-race, and he said that he's seen unbelievable amounts of improvement, which is exactly what we're seeing so far. Of course, he was right up the very top, right at the very peak of the field in the first stints. He is absolutely buzzing to see how he performs, but he said he's about 1.4-ish seconds quicker in qualifying, which is an absolutely incredible stat for himself. And well, he certainly showed it here today. Potentially could have gone even a little bit better, but a very good start for himself, and he'll be hoping to be able to pull this momentum through to the rest of the season and drag that B car up somewhere decent. He and Burt Welly might be an underrated pairing for this season.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see. I mean, obviously, Owen would probably wanted to have Pitt, I imagine, on that lap, but of course, can't double stack. It will cost you far too much time. So it's Pitt this lap, and Ollie Matthews is following him in. So speaking of Lucas Seracini, he's likely going to build quite a good gap now on Owen Baldera and Ollie Matthews, as they didn't box last lap. So if he's putting a good lap here, he may well have gapped them quite a bit, although they may actually have gone for the overcut. So it looks like they are quite close. So they are on fresh tyres, that will need to warm them up. So Luca will now look to push hard on this lap and keep that gap as big as possible. And it currently stands, Owen is not within DRS range. So this might have been a great strategy call for Luca. But again, we'll have to wait and see. They have all stopped for hard tyres, all those runners that have just stopped now. So it is now Ethan Shackleton, who's on those 5-lap-old mediums, having started on softs. Connor Stewart-Woodard on 3-lap softs, having started on mediums and going into the softs for some reason. I still can't work out that strategy, if I'm honest. And then, of course, Alex, who started on softs, has gone on to mediums, as well as Ethan. So on the same strategy as Ethan. And Harrison, his stop, I believe he started on mediums, is on another set of mediums, so he needs to stop again as well. So 3 different strategies playing out here. Connor being on one of his own, Ethan, Aria, and Alex, so many new drivers to remember names for, are on their own strategy, and then everyone else on the hard tire strategy. So the top 5, and then add Daniel Riley to that, are on the same strategy. So they're on the hards. They're on the hards to the end. That's guaranteed, unless a safety car comes out. So it'd be interesting to see if anyone can close those gaps. The closest gap we've got now is Owen Baldera, who did pull that time back in on Lucas Seracini. So be very happy about that. And it's also gapped Ollie Matthews, so he will be very pleased about that. And Ollie is slowly fallen into the clutches of Harrison, and he's trying to pull out the slipstream now down the straights. He's gone to the very far right hand side of the track to not give Harrison any slipstream at all. But I'm not sure it's going to be enough, because Harrison is still closing that gap. But Dan Riley also is on the back of Harrison. So these cars may well all close up again, and that would be fun to watch for the remaining laps.
It really would be. It really would be, as we've seen a couple of switches further down the field. But Welly's managed to make his way through once again on Connor Stewart-Woodard, and Aria Stone has made his way through as well on Regan Harding. It is difficult to remember all the names, but it's a challenge that we certainly will be welcoming throughout the course of this season. And of course, hopefully if one of the two reserve drivers or both of them race, it's going to be difficult as well, not just to remember the names but pronouns as well, because of course we do have 2 female drivers in the series, which is very good to see but very difficult to get our heads around. Of course, new things are always very difficult to adapt to, even if it is a welcome change. Dan Riley is staying on the DRS of Harrison Robinson and staying on the DRS of Ollie Matthews, and really trying to keep themselves in the battle for the top 5 and potentially top 4 if they're able to keep up with those top 4 as we head over to the halfway mark of this race. And Andrea Chenkovan has kept that gap up, potentially extended it just a little bit now to Leandro Ratto. Lucas Aracini in 3rd place, 1.7 seconds off of the top 2, but doing a very good job and looks set to pick up a podium here today, unless Owen can find a little bit of a burst of pace, or if there's a mistake from Lucas Aracini, which based on last season's performances we will be seeing relatively shortly, but I think he's managed to neaten himself out. But Lucas Aracini, I've been talking about him, his teammates, as there's a bit of contact. There is a bit of contact, and Daniel Riley has just dropped the front wing end plate on the right. So Dan Riley, massive mistake, hitting the back of Harrison Robinson. And well, I'll be perfectly honest, I was not looking because I was about to transition to the interviews, but it's going to be very interesting. Is he going to come into the pit lane on this lap? We'll see, but we'll see how much he struggles with this pace as well. He's 8 tenths off the back of Ollie Matthews. Keep that in mind, and keep that as a reminder throughout the course of the rest of the lap.
Yeah, I was on board with Dan Riley actually for that. That was extremely unfortunate. Now, there's no actual rule per se for this, but it's usually good league racing etiquette that if you slow somebody up, if you cause an incident, you don't overtake them or you let them back past. It's kind of like an unwritten rule in league racing. That's not what Dan did. So Dan kind of went into the back of him, which span Harrison out, and the game assumed Harrison was going to stop on track and then ghosted him. That's just a setting. You can turn that setting off, but it's a setting that the drivers voted to keep on. And it just means that people can't purposely block the track to hold people up and things like that. So it's a setting in the game that's on, that we run on in this league. And because he was ghosted, Dan was then able to drive through his car and then kind of go on his way. So as I say, again, it's not something he's not allowed to do, but it is poor etiquette. And especially when it comes to stewards' reports, a lot of drivers, especially last season, I found this. I had my fair share of incidents. A lot of drivers will kind of say, you know what, I'm not going to report it to the stewards because you gave the position back. I'm going to let it happen. It's a mistake. You owned up to it. All good. So it's yet to be seen whether Harrison, looks at that scenario and goes, you should have given me that position back, so I'm going to actually put you to the stewards and give you penalty points instead. We'll wait and see how that looks. But yeah, if I was Dan, I would not gone through his ghosted car. I would have just held behind and then tried to go for the natural overtake. Because looking at his pace now, he hasn't really lost a lot of pace with that end plate missing. So he possibly could have gone back through anyway. So yeah, it's unfortunate that he's gone past under those circumstances. But currently P6 for Daniel, and Harrison is holding on to the back of Daniel in P7. So we'll see how that battle pans out further on in the race. Owen Baldero still keeping with Lucas Aracini. So Lucas Aracini is almost like, I feel like it's quite harsh saying underdog, because he did have a lot of pace last season, but as you know, he finished quite far down the standings. I can't remember where it was. I think it was out of the top 10. So he'll be hoping to do much better this season. And starting the season off with a podium would be an ideal start for him. So let's see if he will be able to do that.
Yeah, we will of course see. And Owen is going to be closing in down the main straight. He did get very close at the start of the straight, but he had, I think, a wobble in the exit of the final corner, which meant that he wasn't able to make his way in because he dropped 3 tenths quite quickly. Dan Riley dropping a position to Harrison, and looked like he defended it quite hard. Looked like they both went very deep into the corner. He has picked up a track limit penalty as a result. As soon as I switch away, I start talking about they might swap. They do swap. and it's going to be Owen who keeps fighting with Luca and does make his way through. In the end, it looked like a good move in that first sector, because it's not particularly easy to make it there unless you make it in very specific spots in very specific ways with very specific mistakes. So Owen making his way through up into third place now and trying to break free of the Luca Seracini shackles and try to make his way up. We haven't seen much of Burt Welly today, but he was able to speak to us before the race, and he mentioned a couple of different things. Of course, his race hasn't gone very well because he disconnected just before the race session. We're able to get myself back in, but was unable to get back in, so until about halfway through the first lap. So it's unfortunate he started at about a 4-second disadvantage to everybody else. He's gotten a bit faster apparently, and he's hoping to pick up a few points. Well, he's in for 2 at the moment, and he's very excited to be back. That is exactly what he said. That is a quote. He's very excited to be back, and we hope that everybody is excited to be back as well. Lucas Aracini chasing back at Owen Boldero now, hopefully going to be making his way through. We'll see whether he's going to be able to. He's 2/10 back, he's going to be 1/10 back, and he's going to pull to the inside line. He's going to give it a go here on the Aston Martin. He does make his way up back into the podium position. So just DRS swapping at this point in time, it appears.
Yeah, you'll be pleased to know I was on board with the Dan Riley-Harrison battle at the front there. Harrison was a little bit pushy, but he probably felt that Dan deserved that after taking the position from him earlier on. So Dan has now got back on him though. So all being well, if this is all worked out, you're watching this post-edit on YouTube days after the race, you would have seen that. But if you haven't seen it, it means that it didn't quite work out how I thought it was going to work out. In fact, I might have even cut this whole speech out. Who knows? But yeah, they are getting a bit racy, those two, and I'm sensing a rivalry potentially this season. Yeah, Dan's not shy of rivalries, but he's got good pace, especially having that damage. You know, I think he's running really very well, and he's almost dropped Harrison out the DRS now. So Harrison's actually in the DRS straight now, so he's able to close back up. So I think that Dan's got a fantastic pace. It's a shame about the penalty. It does mean that Harrison doesn't actually have to get past him. And can just kind of hang behind him and go from there, because track limit penalties don't usually get removed, because yeah, there's times where the game does it for no reason, but 9 times out of 10 it is because you've gone off track far too much. So even if you kind of think it's marginal, so yeah, we'll see how that battle pans out today and throughout the season. If they end up together on track again, I feel like this is something that may continue through the season. But yeah, as we're on board there with Lucas Seracini, Owen Boldero closing up, not going for the overtake. Thought better of that one for now. Just going to recharge the battery and kind of go from there. So yeah, Dan Riley and Harrison and Luca and Owen are the closest battles on track currently. I've said that as Burt overtakes Ethan Shackleton. No, Ethan Shackleton's got in the pits. That's why. Okay, I was like, how did I miss that? They weren't close enough. Yeah, Ethan Shackleton. I do need to pronounce that better, Shackleton. I kind of miss the T a lot in Shackleton. It sounds very odd. So, yeah, has gone into pit for that second stop. So, 2 stops for Ethan, 2 stops for Connor. And it's going to be 2 stops for Alex as well, for sure, because he's on those soft tyres. So, yeah, once Alex has stopped, and everyone's going to have stopped on track. Not on track. Everyone's going to have made their pit stops, and it's all going to kind of just go to the end. So, shame for Connor, absolutely miles behind at the moment, so it's not quite worked out that strategy for him. As I say, going onto the soft tyre in the middle stint feels like a very odd strategy, so no idea what he was thinking there. And Ethan, he's going to be very disappointed with this. I believe it was P5 he finished the first race of Season 9, and he was leading the championship after 2 races, so yeah, it's unfortunate that he started so far down. I mean, look, a safety car can still happen. Anything can happen. We know what it's like here in ABC. Everyone's driving very well, and then a little incident happens. You know, we've seen two pairs of drivers close together, so it can very well happen. But at the moment, everyone's driving very cleanly, so I don't really see it happening. So this may well be the finishing order, other than the 2 who are... And actually, no. So Harrison has stopped again. So that's... Is that a strange call? Did Harrison go? No, Harrison went on to the mediums, didn't he? Yeah. So all that battling, and he's had to stop again. So he'll be hoping to come out and chase down Daniel and get back past Burt as well after that pit stop. So unfortunate for Harrison, was running very well there. So unfortunately he's had to stop again. But yeah, he's got a good 10 laps to hunt down all the cars ahead of him, including his teammate Regan.
Yeah, he has, and I'm not sure whether I was going to say I'm not sure whether we'll be seeing the McLaren of Aria Stone into the pits as well. Aria has now come in, and will be switching for the final time. We have 9 laps left in this race, and just having a quick look at the biggest winners and biggest losers from this race, of course. But Welly has had an underrated one because he started from the back and got this, and well, he wasn't in the session for the formation lap or the first lap or so, and he's managed to gain 6 places off of that's fair play. Probably the driver of the day so far. Daniel Riley's lost 2. Looks like Harrison and Ethan Shackleton have both lost 2, as is Connor Stewart-Wood. So not necessarily great qualifying and great races from them, although the qualifying seemed to be alright. It's the race pace that's let them down a little bit, and then of course Leandro Ratto swapping with Chenkovan at the very top of this field. It means that they have both gained and lost one simultaneously, both of them. There's a yellow flag in turn number 1, as that appears to be the Haas driver. Of course, Alexander looking like he's gone round and managed to catch himself quite quickly, so just a brief yellow flag for Alexander Vikol in the Haas, and now he is a lap down and struggling, potentially not in the session anymore, because he does appear to be going rather tentatively, which is what the AI tends to do. But actually, no, it seems like he's attacking the curves enough that he might still be in the session. The closest driver, the only driver within DRS, apart from the car that's a lap down, is going to be Owen Boldero. Now, he's going to hope that Lucas Aracini is not going to pick up the DRS from Vikol. Otherwise, he could be in a whole world of trouble, but it doesn't look like he's going to do so at this point in time, and I don't reckon he'll do so by the main straight. So this will be very close for Owen Boldero. He needs to try and set this one up.
Yeah, no, that's... I believe Alex was just getting out of the way. So I should say Alexandra. I've been shortening his name. I don't actually know if I'm allowed to do that. I should be asking that after the race. Alexandra is... I believe he was just getting out of the way and not getting involved with the lap traffic. Of course, you do ghost in this game. You can, as we mentioned earlier, you can drive through cars who you are lapping, but it can be very distracting through the corners. So there is kind of a clause, should we say, in the rules that kind of says you're not required necessarily to get out of the way, but we recommend you do get out of the way, because if you hold someone up in the corner, you can be seen as causing an incident if an incident does occur from it. So it's always in your interest to get out of the way and not cause any issues for the cars that are lapping you. Because if you do impede, then I say that as Owen Boldero demonstrates exactly what you don't want. But if you do cause a problem by impeding, then you can get points from it. But that's kind of dealt with on a case-by-case basis by the stewards. So it's usually just in your favour and safe, just to get out of the way. And as you can see, Owen Boldero briefly went out of DRS range there. So that's what can happen if a lap car does get in your way. So yeah, he wouldn't be happy about that, although he is able to pull that back. Now currently running in the position that he started, as we can see on the screen there, where everyone else, apart from Arya Stone, has either gone up or gone down. I think looking at that while it's on the screen, I think it's been a bad day for Dan Riley. Dan Riley was very much bigging himself up to be leading the championship after this one, as we've mentioned before. So I think anything less than a win here was a failure for Dan Riley. So, but look, yeah, there are 30 more races this season. We know he's got the pace. I'm sure we're going to see more from Dan later on. Harrison and Ethan are also down to, although Harrison is on the freshest tyres on the field, so I'm sure we may see something happen there. Connor Stewart-Wood are down to, and then Radiohead, that being Alexandru, is currently at the back of the field, but I think with Burt having had the qualifying ban, we was expecting him to go up the field at some point. And being up 6 places isn't a bad race so far for Burt. It's 11 seconds off Dan Riley, but again, who knows what can happen. Dan has got that damage, so Burt could potentially hunt that down in the final laps, but it's probably quite a big ask.
Yeah, it might well be, as we are ticking down. This race has flown by, and we are on lap 23 and 29 right now. DRS open for the Williams. Going through on the Williams, it's going to be nice and simple for Harrison Robinson to make that move and make his way up into 8th place. Of course, his teammate already has a penalty, which doesn't appear to be affecting him too much, and I don't think he'll drop him any places at the end of the race, because Ethan Shackleton 10 seconds off of Regan, who's managed to only keep himself with that 3-second time penalty. It's going to be 9 seconds for Arya Stone. It's going to be 6 for Connor Stewart Wood, and it'd be another 3 for Dan Riley, so not necessarily very good, but none of them losing any positions because of those penalties, so it appears to be absolutely fine at this point in time. That's the way Bahrain can be. You can extend the track just a little bit too much at some points, and well, that's what we've been seeing with no less than, that's going to be 7 penalties awarded to different drivers at different times, as everybody apart from Owen is now out of the DRS, and Owen just about clinging on.
Yeah, I'll be very careful what I say about the penalty situation with Regan, because I commentated on a race that he was in a different league not too long ago. It was about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Owen Baldero was my co-commentator for that one. And I said, because as I said before, Regan does have a bit of a habit of getting too many penalties in a race for track limits. And I remember saying, I think it's about 2 laps to go, and I said, fantastic from Regan. He's only got 3 seconds throughout the whole race. That's probably the best he's done all season. And then he immediately picked up another one. So, no. Oh, God. All right. Okay, fine. I need to not speak. That's unbelievable. So he jumped in the interview after that race and accused me of commentator's curse. And I think I'm probably about to have the same thing happen in this race. So that's unfortunate. So you know what? From now on, I would say I won't mention Regan and penalties in the same sentence, but it'd be very difficult not to. But I will say this is good, still good going from Regan, because I've commentated on races where he's almost been at disqualification, so from track limits alone. So he's obviously done a great job at bringing that down. But it appears that any time I mention it, he gets another penalty. So I'm just going to shut up, maybe. I mean, I could try and talk about maybe Andrea Chenkovan. He will never get a penalty. Nah, it didn't work. Before I give it a go. That'd be fun way to win the race with Randro being 4 seconds behind. But yeah, as you say, closest on track right now is Owen Baldero, just under 9 tenths on Luca Serafini. I mean, it'd be a story, wouldn't it, if either of these got the podium? You know, for Luca, it's almost a redemption for a poor season last season. But for Owen, again, it's a case of not racing for 2 years. You know, he was last in APC in season 6. So for him, it'd be look, I've not raced for 2 years, but look, I've still got fantastic pace. I can still get podium. So if either of these two get that P3, I think it's going to be a fantastic story. I think for Leandro, he'd be happy, I'd assume, with a P2 in his first race in APC, but I'm sure he'd be hoping to go for the championship as the season progresses. And Harrison, he's hunting that time down quite well, but I don't think it's going to be enough to get back on the back of Dan Riley, who's obviously the next person up the track with a penalty. So, but I'm sure he'll give it a good go.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. We've got just 5 laps left to go in this race, or 4.5 if you're being picky, and we've got Owen close as ever to Luca Serafini trying to make a move, and as you mentioned, there's a couple of penalties still coming in, still not affecting positions, but Luca Serafini, that'll be Ethan Shackleton even, who's closing in on Regan Harding, and will be hopefully within the 6-second window, hopefully for himself, by the time they get to the end of the race. That means he'll pick up 1 extra point added to his tally, and he'll go from 1 to 2 as we end this race off. But of course, we only have 5 laps to go now. 4 as Andrea Chenkovan crosses the beam and will take us on to 26 of 29. It's been, I mean, a typical performance from Chenkovan. A really, really good way to back up his championships and show that he really means business again.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think we knew this was going to happen. I don't think we thought it would be a 4.5 second gap at this stage to Leandro. I mean, as we know from the pre-season show, I predicted Leandro would get the championship, but I mean, as we know, there's still 13 races left to go, so this coming P2 here makes no difference. But yeah, I don't think we expected such a big gap between them in either direction, with any of them in first or second. So yeah, a fantastic showing, and he's showing why he is a 4-time APC champion. One thing to actually mention, speaking of Regan, that league that they are in, they're actually teammates. So Chenki also drives in that one, and they are teammates, and they actually won the championship, the season 3 championship with Ferrari. So he knows Chenki quite well. But yeah, fortunately, not running with him on track right now. But yeah, I think Chenki's Andrea Chenkovan absolutely showing why he's a champion here 3 times. He is one of two drivers who have a 3 times champion here. Obviously, Stuart Towers not be with us anymore. Retired from league racing, which is a shame, but yeah, it's fantastic, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes throughout the season. I mean, Luca's pace has been fantastic. He's still only 2.3 seconds off Leandro himself, and then Owen Boldero, of course, having 2 years off, is only half a second off him. So this season, I mean, yes, Andrea is showing what he can do and showing why he's a 3-time champion here, but the drivers behind him are also showing that actually they're here for this season, they're here to fight, and they're not going to let Andrea run away with it that easily.
Yeah, really, really. I know he's just gained a little bit more time. Has Leandro on the last couple of laps? He's not going to be close enough to Andrei Cenkvan to really challenge him. But what he has done is managed to stay within range, and it's that range that's going to be crucial throughout the course of the season. One mistake from Andrei Cenkvan, a botched pit stop, a poorly timed one, and Randro could be right in it. We've only seen one stop for a number of these drivers today. A hard and medium strategy. A couple of them have attempted the hard softs, but it hasn't quite worked out for them. The pit stops just take too long on F125, and that's something they've discovered. That's something they'll take into the next race. That's something they should have remembered from the last season's race. But of course, it's not necessarily always going to be remembered. But yeah, there's a lot of different things that they'll be taking into the next couple of races, and you'll be taking a commentary team into the rest of the season, hopefully, both of us, and we'll be taking you through all 14 of our rounds. I believe it's 14 at the very least. It is 14, right? 14 races.
It is 14 indeed.
There we go. See, I know what I'm talking about. That 28 to 29. And, well, it will be Andrei Cenkvan at the lead of this race and looking to take home 25 points, potentially 26 if he picks up that fastest lap as well. Randro has dropped off, though, the last couple of laps, and he may well be within range of Luca Seracini, who may well be in firing range of Owen here.
Yeah, well, I don't know what's happened there. So Luca and Leandro have the exact same tyre life, so the same tyre age. I can't tell you about life because they may drive very differently. Owen being 1 lap younger, so it's not down to tyre weather. So I'm not quite sure what's happened. It's one thing as Harrison has got ahead of Burt there, so that's great. We kind of missed that, but we are watching this battle up the top here, so I'm sure the viewers can forgive us. But yeah, they've caught him. So there's going to be a 3-way battle now for second position, which is going to be fun. Now, one thing to note, as you were talking, I had a little run through the race director. Leandro, Luca Seracini, Owen Boldero, all have 2 track limit warnings. Every single one of them. So one more little foray off the track, whether it be on the inside or the outside, will give you a 3-second penalty. So that probably explains why they're being so well behaved right now. Because none of them want to be that person who had a potential for a podium position that got lost because you couldn't keep it on track. Now, Luca Seracini now is looks like he was just outside that DRS range, and that's going to be very unfortunate if he doesn't get the DRS. He might have just picked it up on a run on board. He has not picked it up, so that is unfortunate. He was very, very almost there. And this being the last lap, there's only going to be 2 more opportunities to do it, and I'm not quite sure he's going to be able to. But as we can see, Owen Boldero now is very much on the back of him, pushing him around the corner almost and being like, come on, let me pass, because I want to get past on this final lap. I want a podium on my first race return to league racing. But yeah, this is going to be a fantastic final lap. And Joseph, as the expert commentator here, I am going to let you run us through it, because I think it's going to be exciting for these positions here.
Certainly will be, as they are split by 1.4 seconds, third and fourth place, just in behind second, and at the moment it's the 2 teammates, the Aston Martin teammates, sandwiching Luca Seracini as we head on to the final lap. We're already through the first sector, we're about halfway through the second as we head down to turn 9 and turn number 10. Seracini, 99 V-carb in that beautiful pink livery, is going to try and chase down Randro, but I don't think he's going to be close enough. What he is going to be close enough for, though, is to break away from Owen Boldero. This means that the Aston Martin is not going to be able to get close enough due to the DRS, and his teammate may well have just bottled a double podium here by dropping into the DRS, by going lazy. right at the very end of this race. So things to work on for Aston Martin, but not much to work on from our previous season's champion. He's got 3 championships and he's looking to take it to 4 this year. And Andrea Chenkovan kicks his season 10 off in perfect style with victory around the Bahrain International Circuit. It'll be second place for our debutants Leandro, and third for Luca Seracini. An incredible performance from the V-Carb, and one that he can take massive amounts of positivity from. Fourth place then for Owen Boldero, very similar for himself at his return after 2 years with no league racing. Fifth for Ollie Matthews, pretty much ran his own race after he broke free from Daniel Riley. Sixth for Dan then, and seventh for Harrison Robinson. It will be in the end, as Connor Stewart would have come through a lap down, as does Alexandru in 13th place. Then Harrison Robinson will come home in 7th, and we'll have Burt Welly the next to the line in 8th place. Regan just ahead of Ethan Shackleton, who will get ahead of him. Doesn't need to get ahead of him on track, but will give it his best shot. But no, he's going to stay behind in 9th place. Will be the Ferraris. And our final finisher, 11th place, Aurea Stone.
Oh, what a fantastic race that was. That was very much a welcome back to ABC. I very, very much enjoyed that. That was fun to watch. I mean, that battle for the podium, fantastic. I mean, I probably didn't expect to be up there. I think Luca probably didn't expect to be up there. He knew he had improved, but I don't think he expected to be up there. And I think the battle for the lead early on was great. I don't know why he fell back so far. He ended up 6 seconds off the lead, Leandro, towards the end there. So I'm not quite sure what happened there, but this is looking to be a fantastic season ahead.
It's very much looking like it's going to be a fantastic season. It started off in perfect style, of course, for our champion, as I mentioned, as he celebrates on that podium. But just to run you through the race order one more time, it'll be Andrea Chenkovan leading home Leandro in that second spot. Lucas Aracini in 3rd place, and it'll be fourth for Owen Boldero. 5th place for Ollie Matthews and Daniel Riley in 6th place. Then Harrison Robinson, Burt Welly, Ethan Shackleton, and then Regan Robinson to round out the top 10. Aurea Stone and Connor Stewart Woodard, as well as Alexandre Vicol, will round out our order. We'll round out our 13 drivers, and every single one of them finish, which is really, really, really good to see. And that looks like it's going to be the end of our race session here today. We will, of course, be getting our interviews in. We will, of course, be speaking to the drivers in the first one that has jumped in, and he keeps jumping in and keeps jumping back out. But it'll be Owen Boldero, who we're going to drag into the box straight away. He said he's been ill. He's been making all sorts of excuses, but he didn't, in the end, need any of those excuses, did you? Oh, and
There's one thing we know about Owen Boldero is that he's always guaranteed to have a tech issue. That's that's one thing we love about Owen. He's tried to rejoin. How are you there, Owen?
No.
So yeah, one thing happens with Owen on his uni Wi-Fi. He's never been able to explain it, where he can only talk in a voice channel if he joins it first. So it's always odd. Not quite sure why that is. It's almost as common as his mic issues that we often hear him say in commentary. But I think that's the problem he's having now. Unfortunately, we'd love to get an interview from him, but
I'm here now. I switched to my
he's here
phone.
now. Joseph, I will leave it to you.
Well, I mean, you were making all sorts of excuses before the race about various different things. You didn't need to do that in the end. So, I mean, how does that feel?
Yeah, well, it was a decent first race back after a decent time away from racing. A bit annoyed I couldn't get the podium. I think there was a good chance for it, but it's just dirty air. I feel like I ran a pretty good race. Lucas' straight line speed was just incredible. In the practice session we did, he was running at 211 miles an hour down the first DRS straight, whilst I was doing 202. And I was like, well, that's going to be difficult. And it was just like there was one lap where I probably could have gone for it, but I stayed behind to try and charge the battery. And it was just kind of like, yeah, I don't think I can do it anymore. So I just sort of stayed behind and just sort of made sure not to get a track limit penalty. Overall, it was a good race.
Yeah, it was a pretty decent race, and you managed to hang yourself in at the very top of the field, so it's a very promising sign for yourself. And, I mean, you didn't really have an idea of the way the order was going to be to start off the season. Of course, you've got a bit more of an idea now at a well-balanced track like Bahrain. where are you hoping? What are the hopes for this season then?
Just somewhere in the top 5 in the championship standings would be nice. Maybe third. I think potentially that could be a realistic goal to go for after today's race. But I've got a couple of good tracks coming up. Some that I was always quite good at. Jeddah was always one of my strong ones, which is obviously next week. So hopefully we can. The goal by the end of the season, the dream would be to get a win. But of course that relies on me improving significantly on pace because, well, Andrea Chenkovan was just ridiculous today. And me, nor my teammate, nor Luca could touch him.
Yeah, and I just wanted to touch on your teammate for a second. Of course, you were both on similar pace, at least at the start of the stint, but at the end of the race, it appeared to be that. Well, I mean, you ended up in a similar spot. Is that going to be a difficulty this season? Of course, with pit stops and having to work together. Was that something that was discussed pre-race? Have you had any conversations with him at all, or is it just going to be a we'll see how it goes sort of scenario?
So no, we didn't actually have any conversations before the race, but I thought he was going to be a little bit further ahead of me because, of course, I hadn't raced for a long time, so I wasn't sure where I was going to stack up. So I was expecting him to be a little bit further in front. So those conversations weren't had, but I probably will have them. And there was a point in the race where I actually tried to help Leandro a little bit. So I don't know if you caught it on stream, but on the second DRS straight on the lap, I sent it on Luca. And that was because Luca was about to get DRS. And I was like, if he gets DRS, then he's probably going to overtake him. And I probably won't be able to get him at the end of the race. So my idea was to send it. And, I knew I was slower than Leandro this race. So I just sort of, held back ever so slightly, let him gain a little bit more of a gap. And then Luca overtook me at the end of the lap. And I was like, I might be able to get him at the end of the race. But no, Luca just about got back into DRS, so I wasn't able to do anything. But yeah, those kind of conversations I'll have with him in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, of course, and I think that's all from me now. And well, Kyle, have you got anything for Owen?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you briefly touched on it there, Joseph. You didn't obviously know where your pace was going to be, Owen, this season. I think you've proven that you've got the pace to run at the front. I think you were fighting for second position towards the end there. I'm not sure if your teammate just kind of lost pace or maybe tried to back up to help you but didn't quite work out because he ended up giving your rival DRS there. So not ideal, but you've shown that you've got the pace of the top runners now. Andrea did kind of run away a little bit, but that was only after halfway through the race, really. Your teammate was there with him. So do you think there's a race potentially, at least one, if not many, that you could potentially win this season?
Yeah, well, two I know I can definitely, contend at is Jeddah and Las Vegas. So Las Vegas has always been a really strong circuit for me. I don't really know why, but I've always ran really well there with the low wings. Some people struggle on, low wing circuits, and of course, Vegas is a low grip circuit as well. But I've always run quite well there in previous races. So I think there's potential for a couple of races where I might be in contention for a win. Most of them, I'm going to say no, I probably won't be.
That's all from me.
Wonderful. Well, that's all from us then. And, well, Owen, of course, we'll let you go back to your tech issues and congratulations today.
Thank you. See you guys later.
See you later. That'll be Owen Boldero. I tried to drag him, but he left too quickly. But
very keen to get out of here, wasn't
he? It doesn't like us anymore. He was contractually obliged to be in here, and he no longer has to be, so will disappear as soon as he possibly can. That'll be it from Owen Boldero, and we will next speak to the next man in the interview room, who I will actually bring in, Regan. We went through a phase last year of dragging the drivers up from bottom to the top, and of course, with Regan having finished just a little bit lower than of course the other man in the interview room, who we'll touch on later. Then we will drag him straight in and get the opportunity to speak to him. So of course, it was. Not a bad race. Mixed feelings, I think, is what I would see for yourself, Regan. But I mean, how do you see that race?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm very, very glad to be part of this league. Thank you for having me. I struggle with Bahrain in general. I really, really struggle with the tire wear. I know everyone does, but I'm really, really bad at tire management. And before I went in to this race, I am dreadful at Bahrain, so I was like, I can't use my old setup. I have to try something. So whatever setup I googled, that was it. And I can't remember. I know I was on 34 front wing and 28 or something, and everyone else just seemed to be on much lower. So I was horrendously slow in the straights. And even though I had more downforce in the corners, somehow I was still just slow.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to go with, especially if you haven't prepared and tailored your setup for yourself. But yeah, it wasn't too bad of a race. I mean, we saw yourself in qualifying having a little bit of problems potentially with your teammate Harrison. Can you walk us through what happened there?
Yeah, that was just completely my fault. I because there's so many blue dots on the map, I was looking down to be like, because I had decided, okay, that's definitely a Williams because of the color, and then I had like just checked it before he came up, and then I seen whatever dot was beside me, which ended up being him, and I looked over to see, I think it was the Alpine dot, to see if my color was the same as the Alpine dot. And then I looked up at my mirror, my mirror, and he's just there. So I should have just went for the slipstream, and whoever was there. But I wanted to make sure it was a Williams and not giving a competitor a slipstream. So it was just completely my fault. My eyes were off the ball.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's a difficult one. You and your teammate then were on different strategies, and of course, at some point in the season, you'll have to be on a similar one where this circuit, it might be a bit more open. Later on in the season, it might be a bit more closed. It might be a bit more cut and dry what the strategies will be. Is there going to be a lot of communication? We just had Owen in here and saying that there was zero communication between his teammate and himself, and they were pretty close on pace. You and your teammate seem pretty matched as well. With regards of that, I mean, is it just going to be a case of first dibs, or is there going to be a bit more strategy behind it?
Well, I would like to think there'd be a bit more discussion. I actually wasn't talking to him myself, but I knew when he pitted early, he was going for a two-stop. And as I said, I'm not that quick around here, so I knew my kind of only option to get in the points was to go for a one-stop. So that was kind of the plan from the get-go. But look, I mean, I'm hired by Williams. My job is to get that team number one or as high up the order as we can. So if he's quicker and he wants priority, he can absolutely take it. You know, I'm not going to fight it. I'm sure there's certain tracks I'll be quicker than he will be. I'm sure there'd be tracks he's quicker than me at. But yeah, I think we need to communicate a bit more, and then we'll go from there, depending on who's faster.
Yeah, absolutely fair enough. That's all from me. Kyle, have you got anything?
Yeah. I mean, as you say there, Regan, obviously, it looked like you were working quite well together. I think there was that miscommunication in quali. It looked like you potentially retired in front of your teammate, which obviously probably wasn't ideal for him, but he did manage to improve that lap. So I don't think you affected him too much. You did give him some slipstream, so I think that's great. But I mean, obviously in the race, I saw you let him pass quite easily. You didn't kind of put up a fight, which I thought was quite nice. It was a lot faster at that stage. He had just boxed as well.
Yeah.
But final position in this race, obviously, that's not where you want to be, and I know that's not the pace that you ultimately have. But first race of the season, I think you've got a point on the board. There's drivers here who don't have points on the board, so I think obviously that's a great place to start. Where do you think you could be seeing yourself now? You've seen the pace of the field. Where do you think you can see yourself as we continue through the season?
Honestly, I would think I would like to think maybe top 5 or top 6. I mean, I couldn't compete with the likes of Senkai or any of the really big lads, but I mean, even like I was holding my own there against Bert. He undercut me, and I think look. My goal obviously is to try hopefully get a podium or a win this season, and if I can't do that, driver standing wise, I'd like to be top 5 if I could. But Bahrain, as I said, I don't get me wrong, I'm definitely not the quickest in the field there, but I am dreadful at Bahrain, so I knew it wasn't going to be a good start. So actually, to get a point, I'm happy with. I would have been happier with P9, but the tires were just gone towards the end. I was struggling so much with the rears. So look, I mean, it's not a great starting position, but it's still a point, and hopefully the only way up the only way forward is up from there.
Before we let you go, I will, in case you watch this back, I may well be accused of commentator's curse again. So I'll let you watch it back and see that for yourself. But I'll apologise in advance. But I mean, I'm not the one driving the car off the track, so I'll leave that to you.
I just have a reputation to live up to, that's all. So every time I'm like, oh, I'll have to do it now,
I see. So purposely done. I understand. But yeah, that's all the questions for me. I'm not sure if you have anything else for him, Joseph.
No, that's all from me, and I think we'll let Regan go now and watch the stream back and curse you out. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us this evening, and we will see you next time out.
Thank you guys. See you then. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Again, another driver that I've tried to drag out, and they've left rather quickly. But the next driver we will have into the box is the man who, of course, finished in 5th place. Seemed to be in a world of his own, really, throughout the course of that race. And unless you feel any different, Ollie.
I couldn't agree more. I was very much in no man's land for 80% of that race. I was with Owen and Luca for a lot of that kind of opening stint, but then going on the hard tyres, and I lost a lot of pace, and or not loads of pace, but enough to just consolidate the P5 because I didn't need any more, to be honest. I didn't expect more because this is a stacked grid.
Yeah, and P5, of course, a decent start to the season for yourself. Is that, is that a position that you're looking to continue on taking throughout the course of the rest of the season? Of course, as we've got a bit more of an indication of pace, and you have certain strong tracks and certain weak tracks.
Yeah, well, I think knowing kind of how consistent I am, I reckon I could finish P5 in 14 of the races, which wouldn't surprise me, being kind of not far away from the podium, but not quick enough. Because, yeah, I'm surprised it wasn't 6th after qualifying, because Daniel was ahead of me, and him being Mr. Bahrain, I was expecting him to gain places off the start and run into the distance, but he just didn't, and I got ahead and just ran away, which surprised me.
Yeah, we haven't actually spoken to Dan today. He usually jumps into the interview box, but maybe he is hoping to avoid the Mr. Bahrain moniker. So I give you full permission to just DM him Mr. Bahrain now. Not people watching, you specifically.
I'm going to do that right now.
Yeah, I mean, it was not too bad of a race back, but that's all I've got for yourself. Unless Kyle, you've got anything more?
Yeah, I mean, Ollie, you were running with the podium. I see at one point. I think there was a train of you down from. I think it was but a lot of the time it was the lead down to you, and then I think it was P2 down to you, and then eventually it was P3 down to you, and then after that you were off the back of them completely. So I mean, what happened? What changed? What caused you to lose the back of the pack ahead of you so quickly?
I think it was the hard tyres. They felt nice and kind of robust, but I just couldn't get much pace from them. I did quite a bit of medium practice over the last kind of week, but I did very limited. I think I did one hard stint out of kind of 3 practice races, which just meant that there was just not as much pace in them as I thought there would be, which just dropped me straight out of Owen's DRS, because I entered the pit lane literally right behind him and almost got ahead of him during the pit stops, and I just the medium pace was good. I think the only reason that we dropped back was because the top 2 just had better pace off the start, and Luca and Owen battled a bit, and that lost a bit of time. But I managed to just hold on and not back. Like, that's probably the first race I've done without any mistakes with no assists, so I can't really be complaining.
Yeah, I mean, if you're running no assists, I think that was a great show. And as you say, it was after the pit stop phase. I think you came out right behind Owen Boldera, and then all of a sudden he disappeared from you. And actually, he caught up with Luca Cerasini, who was well ahead of him. So it looked like Owen was just a lot more comfortable on them hard tyres. So do you think going forward, are you going to practice on as many tyre compounds as possible? I mean, what can you do now to actually convert a great start into a podium going forward?
It'll probably just be more practice races, kind of understanding the tyre compounds. I think my setup was a little off. I think I could have run a bit more top speed without sacrificing too much downforce, because Luca was running higher wings than me, yet had lower straight line speed, which was insane to just be behind, which meant when he was leading that train without DRS with me, Owen, and him, we just couldn't make much progress because he was not letting Owen on a higher downforce setup catch through corners and him gain it back through the straights. But it's every position counts.
Yeah, for sure. And I think he's done really well. So well done. And that's for me.
Well, I'll let you go then, Ali. But thank you for joining us, and we'll
Sounds
see you
good.
next week.
See you next week.
We did see a man pop into the interview room. Not a man I've ever spoken to, a man I've DM'd. But, of course, now we'll get our first opportunity to speak to him in the commentary box. And, well, you appeared to be on pace with the race leader, and it just didn't quite go to plan. But not a bad debut from yourself at all, was it?
No, it wasn't. Hello.
Hello, welcome on in to the commentary box, and welcome to the APC. And you started off your APC campaign in decent style, second place after running relatively close to Andrea all race long. And I mean, just how difficult is it to keep with that Ferrari?
Yeah, the pace was there, definitely. The quali pace is absolutely there. But yeah, the race pace wasn't great at the end of each stint. I think I really don't know. I have to work on that, but like for some laps, 200 mediums to be specific, and then 4 5 in the hards. I didn't have pace at all, and like P3 closed the gap like 2 seconds in margin of 4 laps. So yeah, the Ferrari had a great pace in those tight conditions. So yeah, it's gonna be difficult to keep up to him.
Yeah, going to be very, very difficult. But I mean, of course, we know a little bit more about some of the drivers that are already here than yourself. I believe you raced in a league that I owned on F1 24 potentially, so quite a while ago. But yeah, I mean, it was not too bad of a start, as I say, and I mean, is Bahrain necessarily one of your stronger tracks, weaker tracks, just one of the tracks in the middle, something like that?
No, really weak track for me. Probably one of the worst. Together with Abu Dhabi, Baku, and Texas that are on the calendar. So yeah, just taking it easy because it was season opener. You want clean race, clean nose, good points, and work from that. I have to get to know the drivers too, the style, the attitude, how fast they are, how aggressive they are. But yeah, everything went really really good today. Maybe I lost the win, but I didn't have the pace, so P2 is all I can do for today, and that's my best. And I will try to do the same next week, and hopefully it's P1.
Yeah, hopefully so, of course. I mean, you got relatively close to it today. That's all from me. Carl, have you got anything?
Yeah, so you were obviously sat behind Andrea Chenkovan for many laps. I mean, you got past him quite a few times and he took you back. Is there anything that you learn about his driving style? Anything? Obviously, you haven't got to tell exactly what it is. Obviously, you don't want to let your secrets come out live for everyone to hear. But is there anything while you were behind him that you thought, okay, I know what you do now. I know how you drive. I'm going to use that against you in a future race and get past you and keep the win?
Yeah, I mean, I think were more my own mistakes than something special. He's a little bit more consistent on his pace in terms of when the tires drop off in both stints. So that's something to work on. That's something to improve, or maybe minimize the pain on those tracks that are really really bad on tire wear. And the other thing that probably I need to work is on battery. I think he was really really comfortable sitting behind me, and I wasn't. Um, Usually in the straight, he was really really close to overtake, or like he decided to go for it or not. And probably I didn't decide that. I just have a chance and had to went for it because I knew next lap probably I wouldn't have the chance, or I will have to wait even more. So yeah, I think that control um, he managed it really well.
Yeah, fantastic. So yeah, it sounds like you've got an idea of what to do for the next race. I mean, you've definitely got race winning pace from what we've seen. So I'm looking forward to what you can see what you can do in Saudi Arabia. So that is all from me.
Well, thank you both of you, and see you next week.
Yeah, certainly will. See you next week. And, well, thank you very much for joining us today. And hopefully you'll be able to hold a candle to Andrea Chenkova. That was our race P2. That was, of course, Leandro, aka Randro, as you will see on the broadcasts, as we all pick up and we all get used to the new names that everybody is going to go by. Of course, we've got a number of new drivers here today. No less than 5 made their debuts. And just how good is that to see, Carl?
Oh, I think it's fantastic. Yeah, great. I think one thing I'm always very conscious of when you go into a new season of new drivers is that sometimes you do get a handful of drivers who do sign up with the intention of being there at race one, and then race one comes around and suddenly they go, oh, I can't actually do it. I have this going on. I forgot about this, and they don't turn up. So every single new driver turned up. Matthew Gatchers, of course, who has returned. He was at the Chelsea game. He was physically there. That was already booked. He couldn't get out of that, not even for us at APC. So, yeah, he will be here next week. So, it's fantastic. 13 drivers on the grid, 13 finishers. 2 were lapped, but, they'll come back stronger next week. I'm sure it was a strange strategy for Connor. I don't know what happened there. Great to see a battle at the top. Yeah, we like it when, and I'm sure Andrew will probably say the same thing. We like it when there's a battle going on. I'm sure Andrew doesn't want to just run away with it and have it easy. So hopefully going forward, we are going to see some different race winners, whether that be Leandro, Luca Seracini, Owen Boldero, Ollie Matthews, and even Dan Riley. Dan Riley struggled today, had that damage, but we saw some good pace for him. So I'm sure a win will come at some point in the season. And as you say, all the new drivers done well. We've got Harrison in 7th position. We've got Regan in 10th, Aria in 11th, who was in the wrong car, but he will sort that out for next week. And Alexandru last on the grid today, but it's good practice, and he will look to come through later on in the season. I mean, he did openly say himself that, he's not the fastest. He's clean. He knows what he's doing. Like, he just wants to get better. And that's what the Almost Pro Championship's all about. We give the people who actually put the effort in, who are clean racers, want to drive well, but just need to learn those extra few little things just to get better and better. That's what we're here for, and it looks like that's what we're going to be doing for Alexandru. So I've been looking forward to see how his pace improves throughout the season. I mean, we remember Luca Seracini last season wasn't fantastic. So, it's going to be fun to see what Alexandru can do, and Luca Seracini. And what a great podium from him there. Great to see. So, yeah, fantastic first race. Looking forward to next week with more drivers potentially. I think Paul might still not be here. That's TBC. Don't take my word on that. And I know Matthew Gatchers will be here. And I won't commit them just yet because, there's a week to it. But there is a reserve driver who said that they will be driving next week. So it'll be fantastic to see her pace. And as they're both female, that doesn't give away which one it is. So we'll see how that looks. But yeah, fantastic. It's been fun being up here in the comms box as well and joining you. I feel very much honoured to be on the list of people who get to commentate beside you. So it's been fun. So thank you for having me up here. And I'm looking forward to doing it all again next week in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, it certainly will, and it'll be very, very good to see. But from all of us here at APC, thank you very much for joining us for round number 1 of the season, and we look forward to welcoming you next week. Until next time, it is goodbye. Underway. Stamps' authority once again.
My word, this could go wrong. On the brakes, goodness me, what a launch!
Look at that.
It just all comes down to this.